Is it sharing? Can
Yeah,
you see my screen?
it's starting to. It says has started. There we go.
Okay. So right here, right? Chapter 4?
Yep.
Okay. Chapter 4, the esoteric theory of breath. The science of breath, like many other teaching, has its esoteric or inner phase, as well as its exoteric or external. The psychological phase may be termed the outer or exoteric side of the subject, and the phase which we will now consider may be termed as the esoteric or inner side. Oculists in all ages and lands have always taught, usually secretly to a few followers, that there was to be found in the air a substance of principle from which all activity, vitality, and life was derived. They differ in their terms and names for this force, as well as the details of the theories, but the main principle is to be found in all occult teachings and philosophies, and has for centuries formed a portion of the teachings of the Oriental yogis. In order to avoid misconceptions arising from the various theories regarding this great principle, which theories are usually attached to some name given the principle, we in this work will speak of the principle as prana, this word being the Sanskrit term meaning absolute energy. Many occult authorities teach that the principle which the Hindus term prana is the universal principle of energy of force. Excuse me. And that all energy of force is derived from that principle, or rather, is a particular form of manifestation of that principle. These theories do not concern us in the consideration of the subject matter of this work, and we will therefore confine ourselves to an understanding of prana as the principal energy exhibited in all living things, which distinguishes them from a lifeless thing. We may consider it as the active principle of life vital force, if you please. It is found in all forms of life, from the amoeba to man, from the most elementary form of plant life to the highest form of animal life. Prana is all pervading. It is found in all things having life. And as the occult philosophy teaches, that life is in all things, in every atom, the apparent lifelessness of some things being only a lesser degree of manifestation. We may understand their teachings that prana is everywhere in everything. Prana must be conformed with the ego, that bit of the divine spirit in every soul around which clusters matter and energy. Prana is merely a form of energy used by the ego in its material manifestation. When the ego leaves the body, the prana, being no longer under its control, responds only to the orders of the individual atoms or groups of atoms forming the body, and as the body disintegrates and is resolved to its original elements, each atom takes with it sufficient prana to enable it to form new combinations, the unused prana returning to the great universal storehouse from which it came. With the ego in control, cohesion exists and the atoms are held together by the will of the ego. Prana is the name by which we designate a universal principle, which principle is in the essence of all motion, force of energy, whether manifested in gravitation, electricity, or revolution of the planets and all the forms of life, from the highest to the lowest. It may be called the soul of force and energy in all their forms, and that principle which, operating in a certain way, causes the form or of activity which accompanies life. This great principle in all forms of matter, and yet it is not matter. It is in the air, but it is not in the air, nor of its chemicals, constitutions. Animal and plant life breathe it in with air, and yet the air contained it, they would die, even though they might be filled with air. It is taken up by the system along with oxygen, and yet it is not oxygen. The Hebrew writer of the book of Genesis knew the difference between the atmospheric air and the mysterious and potent principle contained within it. He speaks of Nesemet Ruka Chaman, which translated means the breath of the spirit of life. In the Hebrew, Nesemet means the ordinary breath of atmospheric air, and Shamin means life of lives, while the word Ruach means the spirit of life, which occultists claim is the same principle which we speak as of prana. Prana is in the atmospheric air, but is also elsewhere, and it penetrates where the air cannot reach. The oxygen in the air plays an important part in sustaining animal life, and the carbon plays a similar part in plant life, but prana has its own distinct part to play in the manifestation of life, aside from the physiological functions. We are constantly inhaling the air charged with prana, and we are constantly extracting the latter from the air and appropriating it to our uses. Prana is found in the freest state in the atmospheric air, which when fresh is fairly changed with it, and we draw it to us more easily from the air than from any other source. In the ordinary breathing, we absorb and extract a normal supply of prana, but by controlled and regulated breathing, generally known as yogi breathing, we are enabled to extract a greater supply, which is stored away in the brain and nerve centers to be used when necessary. We may store away prana just as storage batteries stores away electricity. The many powers attributed to advanced occultists is due largely to their knowledge of this fact and their intelligent use of this stored up energy. The yogis know that there are certain forms of breathing. They establish certain relations with the supply of prana, and may draw on the same for what they require. Not only do they strengthen all parts of their body in this way, but the brain itself may receive increased energy from the same source, and the latent faculties be developed and psychic powers obtained. One who has mastered the science of storing away prana, either consciously or unconsciously, often radiates vitality and strength, which is felt by those coming in contact with him. And such a person may impart this strength to others and give them increased vitality and health. What is called magnetic healing is performed in this way. Although many practitioners are not aware of the source of their power, Western scientists have been dimly aware of the great principle with which the air is charged, but finding that they could find no chemical trace of it or make it register on any of their instruments, they are generally treated the Oriental theory with disdain. They could not explain this principle and so denied it. They seem, however, to recognize that the air in certain places possesses a greater amount of something, and sick people are directed by their physicians to seek such places in hopes of regaining lost health. The oxygen in the air is appropriated by the blood and is made use of by the circulatory system. The prana in the air is appropriated by the nervous system and is used in its works. And as the oxygenated blood is carried to all parts of the system, building up and replenishing, so is the prana carried to all parts of the nervous system, adding strength and vitality. If we think of prana as being the active principle of what we call vitality, we will be able to form a much clearer idea of what an important part it plays in our lives. Just as in the oxygen in the blood used up by the wants of the system, so the supply of prana taken up by the nervous system is exhausted by our thinking, willing, acting, etc. And in consequence, constant replenishing is necessary. Even though every act, every effort of will, every motion of muscle uses up a certain amount of what we call nerve force, which is really a form of prana. To move a muscle, the brain sends out an impulse over the nerves, and the muscle contracts and so much prana is expended. When it is remembered that the greater portion of prana acquired by the man comes to him from the air inhaled, the importance of proper breathing is readily understood. It will be noticed that Western.
This is a new chapter, just so you know.
Oh, it is. Oh, chapter 5. Should I start it or stop here?
We can pause for a second just in case anyone has anything, maybe. Okay, now we can start.
Okay, chapter 5, the nervous system. It will be noticed that the Western scientific theories regarding the breath confine themselves to the effects of the absorption of oxygen and its use through the circulatory system, while the yogi theory also takes into consideration the absorption of prana and its manifestations through the channel of the nervous system. Before proceeding further, it may be as well to take a hasty glance at the nervous system. The nervous system of the man is divided into two great systems, viz., the cerebrospinal system and the sympathetic system. The cerebrospinal system consists of all that part of the nervous system contained within the cranial cavity and the spinal canal, viz. I don't know what that is. The viz must mean something.
It's the spinal cord.
Oh, okay.
No, I think she's saying the word viz, right?
BIZ, period. It must be a reference to something.
I think it's like when
Yeah, like vis-a-vis.
yeah, like when Sue was trying to explain what IE means to me. I think it's just
like that is.
Yeah, it's just like a transition word type thing.
Okay. All right. Sorry, let me start. The cerebral spinal system consists of all that part of the nervous system contained within the cranial cavity and the spinal canal. The brain and the spinal cord, together with the nerves which branch off from the same. The system presides over the functions of animal life known as volition, sensation, etc. The sympathetic system also includes all that part of the nervous system located principally in the thoracic, abdominal, and pelvic cavities, and which is distributed to the internal organs. It has control over the involuntary processes such as growth, nutrition, etc. The cerebrospinal systems attends to all the seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, etc. It sets things in motion. It is used by the ego to think, to manifest consciousness. It is the instrument with which the ego communicates with the outside world. This system may be likened to a telephone system, with the brain as the central office and the spinal column and nerves as cable and wires, respectively. The brain is a great mass of nerve tissue and consists of three parts: the cerebrum, or brain proper, which occupies the upper, front, middle, and back portion of the skull; the cerebellum, or little brain, which fills the lower back portion of the soul; and the medulla oblongata, which is the broadened commencement of the spinal cord lying before and in front of the cerebellum. The cerebrum is the organ of that part of the mind which manifests itself in intellectual action. The cerebellum regulates the movements of the voluntary muscles. The medulla oblongata is the upper and large end of the spinal cord, and from it the cerebrum branch forth the cranial nerves with which reach to various parts of the head, to the organs of special sense, and to some of the thoracic and abdominal organs, and to the organs of respiration. It's 7:55. Pause.
Yeah, we can pause here.
Okay, so we're on page 18.
Okay. I looked up Viz. I'll put it in the chat. It's just like the wiki link. It just means like that is, or which is follows, or they explain it. It makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like we came across that in the last, I guess he used it. It's funny because he was just talking about magnetic healing. And I'm like, oh my God, I just read about that. What book was that? And it was his book, the book we just read. But he must use this word because I remember reading it in the last book and just being like, what is this? And we just skipped over it.
Yep.
But now I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, I remember talking. Now I do remember talking about it.
I think we just made up our own definition.
Yep.
The spine like always amazes me, like cerebral fluid and the messages that the spine sends, and I don't know, I always find that very fascinating.
Yeah, it feeds all the chakras.
I did not know that.
Yeah. The spinal nerve. It's like they call it Sushumna. So it's like the central channel. And they say that we're not, like, it's not fully unlocked in most people because they're constantly living in extremes. So they sort of like fly off into like hyperactivated or super lethargic. So like the only way to really unlock the prana to flow freely through it, which balances all the chakras, which is like associated with the endocrine system, is to balance the very active part of the nervous system and the very latent part of the nervous system. And that unlocks the central channel or the spinal cord. The yogis, man, they knew how to manipulate everything in the body. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's cool. And it's like, and I just love how he presents the information too, because it's still not in, and maybe it's because I already practiced this. Like, I don't know if I would have studied this years ago before I was a yoga practitioner, if I would be as interested, but I know it's true because it's like I proved it to myself already.
Yeah.
I do this work.
Yeah, I remember in the beginning of like right when I started my yoga teacher training, and I was like, I've never felt inside my body. Like I wasn't living in my body at all.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, we are just a temporary body, but I don't know. I just had no consciousness of it. And I wasn't like really caring for it and moving through it the way, like I just move better now.
Well,
I don't
and
know if that makes sense.
we're not the body. We still got to take care of it. It's the protection. It's like,
Right.
you know, it's like taking care of your car. But I like the part where he talks about, I don't know, when you were reading about prana, I immediately thought about myself like at the top of a ski mountain. Every time we go skiing, which hasn't been in a few years, but I love to ski. I'm awful at it, but I get myself to the top of the mountain as high as I can go that day. And I am just like, I feel amazing. But I'm wondering if it has more to do with like prana, because when you're at the top of a mountain, I mean, it is like the cleanest air, it feels like. And there's just like snow everywhere. And like what we were talking about at the beginning, like this anticipation of going away on vacation is really exciting. But when you're there, everything just melts away. But also it could be tied to prana. Like even for me on Monday, I spent like 5 hours at the beach. And to me, that the beach is where like I can reset pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Just being there and breathing that ocean beach air for hours, just inviting that prana in is just like very healing to me. For me, everyone has their spot, but that's why they probably tell us to spend so much time in nature, because of the air.
Yeah, there's more prana in nature for sure. You know how like we have bayous, we have energetic rivers running through the body with intersections that enumerate that energy and become chakras and marma points. So the earth has the same thing, and they call them ley lines. And what's really cool is like different parts of the earth are like they associate with different chakras in our own body. So when you travel, you actually get like a upgrade in that area. It helps to open a certain part of you. But the ocean, I feel the same way as you. I think it's like the root gets what it needs, right? It's like you're close to the earth, you get all those ions coming off of the water. There's just so much sunshine, which gives us prana too. And the water gives us prana. And it's like we've created these concrete boxes for ourselves to live in, and it's divorcing us from our energy generator. It's like crazy.
It's true. And now that I don't have Kramer, I mean, I'm making myself go on a 2-mile walk every day, but like I'm walking around like there's highway here, car there. It's not like an enjoyable walk, and I'm too lazy to drive anywhere to do it, like to a park. But now that I don't have Kramer, I'm not spending as much time outside, and I feel it affecting me. And I feel like this winter coming affecting me, where I'm like, I'm already bringing on the depression because I'm like, it's going to be dark all day. I'm exaggerating it, but I'm like, I got to start being outside more.
Even in the winter, you should go out. Yeah, like I
mean,
used to be the same way until Isa. It's like we'd have to go outside anyway.
Yeah.
And that definitely like made the winter more tolerable, because you get that, it reflects off the snow, at least to some capacity.
I mean, even when I had Kramer, I had to bring him outside. That's how we went to the bathroom. So I didn't have a choice. We'd be outside like all the time. So I got to force myself to go. I'm getting there. I know it's important. And that's why I think like reading this, and it's like, all right, yeah, it's very important. We got to spend time outside.
You have to kind of like make the farce of, I don't know how to explain it. It's like people used to be outside 24/7 until they would go to sleep in their huts, like the earth and what we've been made from naturally heals us in all the ways we want to be healed, but we don't participate with it anymore.
Well,
it could be so simple.
Years ago, they slept with their windows open and had fresh air coming.
Yeah, right.
Now it's like we live in this like, I mean, I don't use air conditioning, but when Eric's home, he puts it on, and it's still air, but it's got to be some filtered air.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go find my phone so I can set the timer. Oh, okay. Yeah, and as I'm getting older, just learning about the spine, it is so important to take care of it and stretch it and twist it out. I used to hate twist in yoga. I hated the teacher every time any teacher would put me in a twist. But now I get it, and it's important.
Wasn't it that teacher you used to follow who said like you're as young as your spine is young,
I guess
as your spine is flexible?
yeah, and we don't see our spine, so we forget to take care of it because
Mhm.
we're like, ah,
That's like what Lauren said. Most people aren't really in their bodies. They're not paying attention.
yeah, yeah. Or like they see their front, it's like, oh, I got to do something about this side or my stomach,
Right.
my whatever, or I look so old in my face. But we don't look at our back, so we're never like, oh, I should just, if I just take care of my spine, it'll make my life more fluid to be able to move a little bit more. But we don't think of it that way. Okay, let's do some breath work and meditation. Oh. Just sitting up nice and tall, setting up for breath with that straight, strong spine. Just taking a few breaths in through the nose, and out through the nose. Bringing attention to your body. Relaxing features on face and shoulders, engaging the core a little bit. And then bring your right hand over to the face. Let the right nostril close. Let the right nostril close. Let the right thumb close the right nostril. Inhale through the left. Close the left with the ring finger. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. You can continue on with that or release the palm. I'm going to do 3 rounds of bellows breath. If you'd like to join me, the pumping of the belly, inhaling and exhaling. So we'll all take a deep breath in. It'll be a deep breath out. Breathe in halfway. And then just pump the belly. Completely exhale. Full inhale, engage the locks, the root, the belly, the throat, drop the chin. And slowly pick up the chin, release the throat, the belly, the root, exhale. Inhale halfway, we'll do another round. Complete exhale, full inhale. Engage the locks, root, belly, throat, drop the chin. Lift the chin, release the throat, the belly, the root, exhale, slow. Inhale halfway, one more round. Exhale all the way. Full inhale, engage the locks, root, belly, throat, drop the chin. Lift the chin, release the throat, the belly, the root, slowly exhale. Just take a few breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. I'm gonna set the timer. You'll join us in meditation when you're ready if you're not already there. Bringing hands to heart. Namaste.